From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. conducted the reopening of the Philippine International Convention Center, or PICC, in Pasay City, revealing new cutting-edge technologies and enhancements. In his message, President Marcos stressed the ambition behind the PICC's establishment, emphasizing that his mother, then First Lady Imelda Marcos, was the first to propose the concept of constructing an international convention center in the country. President Marcos noted that the PICC serves as a symbol of Filipino resilience and creativity, as well as features newly curated art collection which are considered priceless works from Filipino masters.
The challenge has always been to strike a balance to honor history while meeting the demands of the future. And so we have equipped this architectural marvel with new technologies so it can deliver the very best for our people. From the state-of-the-art audiovisual systems, energy-efficient lighting, complex wide high-speed Wi-Fi to enhance security, it is now a venue that will serve both domestic and global needs. And because we believe that art must live with us, the PICC will also showcase a newly curated art collection with priceless works from Filipino masters. This features key pieces from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. None of this would have been possible without the brilliance and dedication of experts across so many fields. Their hearts, their minds, their hearts made sure that we celebrate today that is worthy of our celebration today is worthy of the legacy of PICC.
The PICC, designated as a national cultural treasure, was Asia's first international convention center and has held major global and local events since its opening in 1976. Its creation was spearheaded by then First Lady Marcos, who saw the project as part of a larger campaign to position the Philippines as a major cultural and economic leader on a worldwide scale. President Marcos also commended his wife, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, for leading the reopening efforts by personally reviewing the PICC's upgrades and repairs.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will let the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, determine whether to hold public hearings on flood control projects. This came as Presidential Communications Officer PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro underlined President Marcos's support for the ICI's independence.
Noon pa po sinabi ng Pangulo na itong ICI ay isang independent commission. So kung ano po ang kanilang magiging polisiya at ang kanilang magiging procedure po doon ay igagalang po ng Pangulo at hindi po manghihimasok ang Pangulo dahil sila po ay independent body or commission.
Undersecretary Castro's statement came amid growing requests for ICI hearings to be made public in order to promote transparency and accountability. Executive Order or EO 94 signed by President Marcos on September 11 establishes the ICI as a fact-finding agency tasked with investigating alleged corruption, anomalies, and abuse of funds in government flood control and related programs over the previous 10 years. Retired Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes Jr. chairs the commission and includes former Public Works Secretary Rogelio Babe Singson and SGV and Company Executive Rosana Fajardo as members. On Monday, Malacañang announced the nomination of former Philippine National Police Head Rodolfo Azurin Jr. as the ICI's new special advisor and investigator, succeeding Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong. EO number 94 orders the ICI to examine, receive, gather, and assess evidence, intelligence reports, and information pertaining to irregularities in government flood control and infrastructure projects. The ICI may also issue subpoenas approve the admission of witnesses to the Witness Protection Program, and propose asset freezes, hold departure orders, and preventive suspensions to ensure the integrity of investigations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang dismissed criticism of former PNP Chief Rodolfo Azurin Jr.'s selection as Special Advisor and Investigator to the Independent Commission on Infrastructure or ICI, citing his clean record and lack of political intent. According to Presidential Communications Office, PCO Undersecretary, and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. nominated Azurin to replace Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong partly because of his investigative skills and expertise.
Kung sino man po ang namili, ibibigay ko na lamang po sa inyo kung anong detalye dyan. Pero ayon po sa Pangulo, ang pagkakapili po kay General Azurin ay base na rin po sa kanyang karanasan, sa kanyang mga kagalingan, at siya naman din po ay investigador at walang komplikasyon. Hindi po kasi siya politiko. So yan po, maliwanag, kayo na po nagsabi, hindi nakasuhan. Kasi kung naakusahan lang, madali po kasi mag-name drop. Madaling magbanggit ng pangalan. Madaling magturo, lalo na ngayon. Pero iba po kasi kapag nakasuhan at nagkaroon ng desisyon ng conviction.
Questions reappeared about Azurin's alleged involvement in the cover-up of a major 2022 drug bust, but the palace dismissed the allegations because the former chief cop is not among those indicted. The ICI was established earlier this month after the president discovered fraudulent and poor flood control projects. Azurin, who will take over Magalong's advisory and investigation tasks, will assist in the pursuit of cases involving contractors, local officials, and national agencies that have been highlighted for abnormalities.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang urged resigned Ako Bicol Party List Representative Saldi Co to establish his innocence and answer to claims of involvement in anomalous flood control projects. In a news briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said that Co's retirement did not relieve him of culpability for his alleged involvement in the multi-billion peso flood control project controversy. Castro added that if Co is not guilty, he should respond to the corruption claims leveled against him and give light on the situation.
Sa pangyayari po yan, kung nag-resign po siya, yan naman po ay kanyang kagustuhan. Walang makakapigil sa kanyang mga desisyon. Ngunit kung magkakaroon man siya ng kaso at maisasampa, hindi po niya ito maiiwasan. Hindi niya po ito matatakbuhan. So mas maganda po rito kung siya man po ay masasampa ng kaso, ipaglaban na lang niya ang kanyang karapatan at ipaglaban ang katotohanan na naaayon sa kanyang mga ebidensya. Kung nababanggit ng kanyang pangalan, definitely dapat niya po itong sagutin. Dahil kung hindi niya po ito masasagot at iiwasan niya, lalabas lamang po siyang guilty. So mas mainam po na maipaliwanag niya ang kanyang side.
The Department of Justice or DOJ has requested that the International Criminal Police Organization or Interpol issue a blue notice to find Co. Co, who has been accused of accepting payments for bogus flood control projects, first flew to the United States for medical treatment. Co's travel clearance from the House of Representatives has been cancelled, although rumors indicate that he may have traveled to Paris, France. The issue of a blue alert by Interpol will assist Philippine authorities in monitoring Co's location and movements.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has voiced trust in the loyalty and stability of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP despite concerns about government corruption. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said President Marcos is certain that the military would strictly adhere to the Constitution.
Paniwala pa rin po, may tiwala po ang ating Pangulo sa ating mga kasundaluhan na sila po ay mananatiling matatag at ang kanila lamang na ipasusunod ay kung ano po ang sinasabi ng konstitusyon. At lahat naman po tayo, hindi lamang po ang kasundaluhan ang galit sa korupsyon. So, atin pong igagalang ang kanilang mga mensahe dahil hindi po lahat ng tao gugustuhin na manakawan ng pondo ng bayan.
When asked about potential loyalty turns inside the military, Castro underlined that AFP leader General Romeo Bronner Jr. has already addressed such issues. Castro said Bronner guaranteed him that the military would not cause trouble and would carry out its tasks in accordance with constitutional mandates. Retired and active military and police personnel have shown their support for President Marcos and his unwavering attempts to combat corruption in government. Members of the Association of General and Flag Officers, Philippine National Police Academy, Alumni Association Incorporated, National ROTC Alumni Association, and Confederation of National Unified Service Association signed a manifesto supporting President Marcos's anti-corruption campaign. Castro previously said that the AFP and other uniformed troops must remain apolitical and cannot be used for political advantage or to destabilize the government.
Dateline Malacañang.
During the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC meeting in Malacañang, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and congressional leaders agreed on 44 priority measures under the Common Legislative Agenda with a focus on agriculture, social protection, and education reform. The list includes adjustments to the rice tariffication law and the fisheries code to increase the competitiveness of farmers and fishermen, as well as planned changes to the Coconut Farmers and Industry Trust Fund Act, amendments to the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps, and the Universal Healthcare Act, as well as the proposed assistance to individuals in crisis situations or AICS Act, will provide social safety and welfare. Additionally, a National Center for Geriatric Health will be established. Education priorities include amending the Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act, reforming student and teacher support in private schools, and improving teacher professionalization. Energy and environmental security are also on the agenda with the Waste-to-Energy Bill, the Department of Water Resources Bill, revisions to the Electric Power Industry Reform Act or IPIRA, the National Land Use Act, and a single-use plastic excise tax. The Progressive Budgeting Act, the Right to Information Act, Anti-Money Laundering Act revisions, and a full review of the Local Government Code are all examples of governance and transparency policies. President Marcos emphasized that modifications to the Local Government Code and rice tariff law should be among the first to be implemented, stating that they are critical to improving governance efficiency and protecting agricultural competitiveness. Other specified priorities include digitalization, catastrophe resilience, economic reforms, and institutional modernization. Both the executive and legislative branches stated that the 44 measures are intended to meet current demands while establishing the groundwork for long-term development.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Philippine Department of Agriculture, RDA, announced that 20 pesos per kilogram launched to aid locals in storm-hit Masbate province. The Benteng Bigas Meron Na project has been implemented. Following the devastation caused by severe tropical storm Opong, international name Bualoy, the National Food Authority or NFA sent truckloads of inexpensive rice to the province. In a statement, DA Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel said that the effort aims to help Masbate locals by providing cheaper rice choices. The province's buying limit exceeds the current 10 kilogram maximum every month set aside for the vulnerable segment or sector. According to data from the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, Opong affected approximately 70,000 homes in Masbate. Aside from Masbate, the DA already declared plans to implement the Benteng Bigas Meron Na program in Eastern Samar. Dateline
Malacañang.
The National Food Authority or NFA said it will soon acquire storm-damaged palay or unhusked rice from typhoon-affected areas to assist Filipino farmers in their recovery. In a news conference, NFA Administrator Larry Lacson told farmers that the agency's buying price would not fall to a single-digit level, contrary to reports from dealers in various sections of the country during the peak harvest season. The intervention will be conducted under the upcoming executive order on palay procurement, which was previously announced by Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. Lacson said that the NFA's price will be approximately 2 pesos to 3 pesos per kilogram, lower than the flexible price range scheme or prisers, which is now fixed at 23 pesos per kilogram for dry palay and 17 pesos per kilogram for wet palay. On Monday, Chu Laurel reported that traders' purchase prices for palay fell back to 8 pesos per kilogram after hitting around 14 pesos per kilogram in some places, with sporadic reports of 6 pesos per kilogram as farmers battle to dry their crop during the rains. However, the NFA would prioritize the buying of dry storm-damaged palay for speedier disposal. Meanwhile, Chu Laurel has said that the government will soon establish a floor price for palay to protect rice producers from falling farm gate prices. Lacson emphasized the need for rapid issue of the relevant orders. He also said that the proposed budget for the emergency procurement of palay is approximately 3 billion pesos. The fund also plans to cover logistics, operational costs, and rental fees for new NFA warehouses. The NFA chairman said they have yet to decide how many warehouse facilities will be rented to meet increased palay shipments. As of Tuesday, the NFA's national rice stockpile stood at 446,000 metric tons, which is equivalent to 8.9 million bags of milled rice, or enough for 12 days.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Trade and Industry or DTI said that despite the shutdown of some businesses, the prices of items in disaster-affected areas remain unchanged. The entire provinces of Cagayan, Masbate, Oriental Mindoro, Biliran, and Romblon, as well as Pagudpud Town in Ilocos Norte, Dagupan City in Pangasinan, Calbayog City and San Vicente Town in Samar, and Ibahay Town in Aklan are currently under a 60-day price freeze after being severely damaged by Super Typhoon Nando, international name Ragasa, and severe tropical storm Opong Bualoy earlier this month. In a statement, Trade Secretary Cristina Roque cited reports from the DTI's Regional Operations Group to declare that the supply of commodities in these areas remained stable and sufficient. According to the agency, it continues to coordinate with distributors and retailers to guarantee stable supply of BNPCs or basic necessities and prime commodities, and reiterates that violators of the automatic price freeze face penalties of 1 to 10 years imprisonment and fines ranging from 5,000 to 1 million pesos. It also asked the public to send any consumer-related complaints or inquiries to report to SEC at dti.gov.ph or call the 1DTI or 1384 hotline.
Dateline Malacañang.
National Electrification Administration or NEA officials said power restoration in typhoon-hit areas is expected to be completed within a month as stakeholders work together. During an interview with Bagong Pilipinas Ngayon, Engineer Eric Campoto, officer in charge of the NEA Disaster and Risk Reduction and Management Division, said that several task force members from various electric cooperatives or ECs are already in the province of Masbate to assist with restoration efforts. Campoto added that the province of Masbate, notably mainland Masbate and Ticao Island, as well as other sections of Samar and Sorsogon, will be prioritized for power restoration. Campoto said that they have re-energized around 3,000 power consumers on Ticao Island to date. Aside from the ECs, the NEA is working with the Department of Energy, the National Power Corporation, the Philippine Ports Authority, the Philippine Navy, and the Department of Public Works and Highways with the the latter being tasked with clearing debris, which is a major roadblock to power restoration efforts. Campoto assured generator sets had also been sent to many critical establishments in Masbate, including as hospitals, to provide a continuous power supply. In a statement, DOE Secretary Sharon Garin estimated the cost of rebuilding damaged electricity lines at roughly 400 million pesos but did not specify how this would be funded.
Dateline Malacañang.
A magnitude 6.7 earthquake rocked Cebu province at 9:59 in the evening of Tuesday. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, said a tectonic earthquake struck 17 kilometers northeast of Bogo City, Cebu. The tremor was 10 kilometers deep. PHIVOLCS lagged the following reported intensities. Intensity 3 for San Fernando, Cebu. Intensity 2 for Lawang, Northern Samar. Instrumental intensities. Intensity 6 for Cebu City, Cebu Villaba, Leyte. Reported intensity is a traditional way of knowing the intensity based on reports by people who felt the earthquake. Instrumental intensity, on the other hand, is measured using the intensity meter that measures ground acceleration. Two consecutive aftershocks rocked Bogo City, Cebu following the magnitude 6.7 earthquake. The first aftershock occurred at 10:24 in the evening, had a magnitude of 5, followed by another 10 at 10:33 in the evening with a magnitude of 5.1 according to PHIVOLCS.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, is investigating claims of a Filipino seafarer who was probably injured when the Dutch-flagged cargo vessel Minerva Rat was apparently attacked while traversing the Gulf of Aden Monday. In a media statement, the DMW expressed profound concern about the situation. According to initial accounts, several crew members of the cargo vessel were injured and required evacuation after the ship was attacked by an unidentified explosive device, causing a fire and significant damage to the ship. According to media sources, the ship's crew consists of 19 people from the Philippines, Russia, Sri Lanka, and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Operation Aspides, the European naval force operating in the region, said Tuesday morning that the Minerva Grat was on fire and adrift following the crew's rescue. The DMW guaranteed once the report on the Filipino casualty is confirmed, the agency will be ready to provide prompt help, including medical care, repatriation if necessary, counseling, psychological support, legal aid, and other types of assistance to the seafarer and his family. The department also assured Filipino seafarers and their families that the Philippine government, through the DMW, is working to protect their safety and well-being.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines and Australia reinforced their marine security collaboration via 5-day maritime law enforcement MLE training. The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, said Tuesday that the PCG COXO designate course on maritime law enforcement module was in accordance with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to strengthen interagency cooperation, bilateral partnership, maritime security capacity, and uphold the rule of law in the Philippine waters. The PCG, Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, or DFAT, and the Australian National Centre for Ocean Resources and Security, or ANCORS, collaborated to organize the program. It addressed a variety of issues, including international marine laws and agreements, law enforcement in maritime zones, and the rule on the use of force in maritime operations. It was held in Manila from September 22 to 26, 2025, and featured talks from academics Stuart K. and Robert McLaughlin at the University of Wollongong in Australia, who stressed the importance of regional practice exchange and scenario-based exercises in all marine concerns. In addition, PCG Captain John Mark Ange offered his first-hand experience aboard a ship, demonstrating how to respond successfully to real-world challenges while preserving crew safety and mission success. Admiral Ronnie Hill Gavan, commandant of the PCG, And His Excellency Mark Innes Brown, Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, attended the program's conclusion ceremony.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Indonesian Embassy in Manila emphasized the ongoing collaboration between Indonesia and the Philippines as both countries prepare to mark the 76th anniversary of diplomatic relations on November 24. Indonesian Ambassador to the Philippines, Agus Wijojo, underlined the importance of media in advancing public diplomacy and building mutual understanding between the two countries during a media luncheon at the Manila Hotel. He pointed out that the meeting was the first formal media event since 2022. He noted that it is a celebration of friendship, comparing the Manila Hotel's tenacity and friendliness to the spirit of the Philippines itself. Wijojo also discussed current national trends such as Indonesia's goal of 5.2% economic growth in 2025, which follows a 5.12% GDP gain in the second quarter and is driven by manufacturing, trade, and tourism. On September 15, a $990 million incentive package was unveiled, including accelerated programs aimed at increasing investment, creating jobs, and absorbing workers. According to Wijojo, Indonesia is still pursuing its Golden Indonesia 2045 plan with the goal of becoming a highly evolved and technologically adept nation by its centennial of independence. The envoy also mentioned achievements in bilateral relations. In 2024, bilateral trade totaled $12.5 billion, with Indonesia exporting $10.7 billion and buying $1.7 billion from the Philippines. Indonesia is the Philippines' sixth largest commercial partner and fourth largest import source. The embassy also said that expanding Philippine exports to Indonesia will encourage a more balanced commercial partnership. In May 2025, the two nations signed a memorandum of agreement on healthcare cooperation, with Indonesia being reallocated to the WHO Regional Office for the Western Pacific, which is expected to boost collaboration.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza-de Guzman.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila. Dateline Malacañang.